Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read S6 6061 chapter book, The Fish Field Trip. Look, there are some new fish in the tank, Phoebe shouted. Everyone gathered around the big fish tank that Miss Frizzle had brought in for Ocean Awareness Day. Wow, check out the stripes on that angelfish, Ralphie said. I drew one of those for my coral reef report. Everyone crowded around to look at the bright blue and yellow fish. But I couldn't keep my eyes from wandering to the shelf above. There it was, the big beautiful book on coral reefs that our class had been working on together for days. The picture you painted for the cover is awesome, Tim, Carlos said. Thanks, Carlos, I said. I would have spent 2 days drawing a coral reef. It had turned out pretty well. I think shark pictures are great too. Thanks, he said. This was one art project I could really sink my teeth into, but for a while I was afraid I had bitten off more than I could chew. I rolled my eyes as Carlos made biting motions, imitating a shark. Is everyone ready, class? Miss Frizzle said. Tonight is the big night. I swallowed hard. That evening, the whole school was having a big assembly for Ocean Awareness Day. Our class was going to present our special handmade book on coral reefs. We each had to get up and talk about our drawings and reports. I was a little nervous, and not just about talking in front of the whole school and everybody's parents. My Aunt Joanne would be visiting from San Francisco. She's a professional children's book artist and had always encouraged me to draw too. I really wanted the assembly to go well. Why don't we have one last rehearsal? The freeze said. She smiled at me. Could you bring us the book, please, Tim? Okay, I said. But as I reached for the book, Liz, our class teacher, jumped up next to it. She swung her tail, trying to balance herself, and knocked the book right off the shelf. No, I shouted. I lunged for the book, but it was too late. With a giant splash, it fell right into the fish tank. In a flash, I reached into the water, pulled it out. All of our hand-painted artwork was totally soaked. Keisha ran to get some paper towels to pat it dry, but it was too late. My cover painting was nothing but a swirling mass of wet paint. We flipped through the book to check the other pictures. They were all destroyed too. It's ruined, I said. What are we going to do now? Maybe we can still give our reports without the pictures, Dorothy Ann said. Arnold pointed at the dripping book. Not me, he said mournfully. My whole report was in there. Mine too, I said. I flipped to the pages I had filled with information about coral reef animals. The ink was hopelessly blurred. Leaping lizards. What will we do now? Don't worry, class, said Miss Frizzle. A little water won't ruin Ocean Awareness Day. But what about all our pictures and our research? They are gone, Wanda said. How will we give our presentation without that book? We'll make another one, of course, Miss Frizzle said. I couldn't figure out why she looked so pleased. I'd spent all week working on those pictures. I don't think I could do all that research again in one day, I said. Sure you can, if we go right to the source, said Miss Frizzle. Uh-oh, I think I see where this is going, Arnold said. To the bus, Miss Frizzle exclaimed. Are we going to see a real coral reef? Said Carlos. Cool. Or maybe just an aquarium, Arnold said hopefully. The freeze winked. I had something a little more splash in mind. We ran outside, piled into the magic school bus. I looked out the window in time to see the bus sprout wings, buckle up, and prepare for takeoff. Miss Frizzle shouted. With the roar of its new jet engines, the magic school plane soared into the sky. Settle in for a long ride, said the Freeze. I knew I should have stayed home. Today, Arnold moaned. Chapter 2. Where are we going, anyway? Ralphie asked. About as far as we can go, the Freeze said cheerfully. We're going down under. You mean underwater? I asked. Underwater and down under. Said with a smile, we're going somewhere truly great. I knew the Freeze must be hinting at something, but all I could see out the window were the clouds far below us. After a while, the drone of the engines must have made me fall asleep. I woke up with a start to hear Miss Frizzle shouting, "We are here." "Oh, where?" Ralphie asked, rubbing his eyes. I looked out the window. We're still way up above the clouds. "The Great Barrier Reef, it's right down there," Miss Frizzle said cheerfully. "That's the largest coral reef area in the world," DA said. "According to my notes, it's right next to Australia." Wanda laughed. "So that's why the Freeze said we're going down under. That's Australia's nickname." "Wow, we just went halfway around the world," Keisha said cool. I was pretty excited myself, but I couldn't help wondering how we're ever going to get back to school in time for our presentation. "Where are we going to land?" Carlos asked as the plane started to descend. "Jet planes can land in the water, can they?" "No, but birds can," said Miss Frizzle. "Grab a feather and hold on to your hats." The next thing we knew, the bus had changed into a giant pelican. We had an incredible view as it glided in circles, going lower and lower. We were below the clouds now, and the water beneath us was a glorious blue. Straight below us, we could see hundreds of odd-shaped islands. "Welcome to the Great Barrier Reef," the Freeze shouted. "Of course, most of it is down under. Underwater, that is. Between the islands were lots of large, light-colored patches." "What are those?" Keisha asked. "That's the reef," the Freeze said. "All those lighter areas are huge masses of coral that don't quite reach the water's surface." "Wow," I said. "This goes on for miles and miles." "According to my research," DA said, "the Great Barrier Reef is actually made up of thousands of small reefs. It covers an area nearly as large as the state of California." "Wow," Phoebe said, looking out the window. "It must have taken forever for all that coral to grow." "What do you mean grow? You made it sound like coral reefs are alive." "Oh, they are. Don't forget all these miles and miles of reefs were made by living animals called corals. Come on, let's get a closer look." Magic School Pelican swooped down toward the water. "What is happening? Where is this bird going?" We zoomed down closer and closer to the water, then landed with a big splash. I was a little nervous about where the Freeze might take us next, but I figured it couldn't be as scary as standing up in front of the school with no report to read. The buzz pelican started to change shape. Its feathers disappeared, and soon we're all seated on blue plastic chairs in the magic school boat. "Yikes, I think there is a hole in this boat," Arnold said, pointing at the floor. "I can see fish down there." Miss Frizzle laughed. "Don't worry, Arnold. The boat has a glass bottom, so we can see what is underneath us." We all looked down into the water below. At first, I just saw sand. Then suddenly, we're over a cluster of coral. "Wow," said Carlos. "It's even more beautiful than the pictures. Below us was a magical landscape unlike anything I had ever seen. It looked like a forest of colorful, enchanted rock. Some forked up like antlers, others looked like big clusters of bubbles. Hey, I know what those are, Ralphie shouted. I did my report on the different types of coral. He started scribbling in his notebook. Do you remember all their names? Phoebe asked. No way. There are more than 700 kinds of corals that help build reefs, Ralphie said. But I do know some of them. See the ones that look like big flowers? Those are called daisy coral. And I suppose those ones that look like big mushrooms are called mushroom corals. Carlos joked. Actually, they are, said Ralphie. A lot of corals are named for how they look, like antler coral, finger coral, bubble coral, and grape coral. What is that? Phoebe interrupted. It looks like a giant brain. We looked where she was pointing. That's brain coral, Ralphie said. Weird, huh? The brain coral looked like a giant ball, covered with wrinkled ridges, just like pictures I'd seen of the human brain. Ralphie started drawing it for his report. None of the corals looked smooth. They were all covered with little bumps and ridges, and swimming among them was swirling masses of fish, all in wild, bright colors. It was like being inside a kaleidoscope. I can't believe how many fish there are down here, I said. Everywhere I looked, there were more fish. There must have been thousands. School of small orange fish swam past. Suddenly, they all changed direction and whirled away like leaves blowing in the wind. According to my research, more than 1,500 different kinds of fish live in the Great Barrier Reef, said DA. Wow, look at those colors, said Wanda. Their spots and stripes are even brighter than in the books. I wish I knew what all these fish are called. Those flat, yellow, and black striped ones are called the butterfly fish, Phoebe said. I did a report on those, and those black ones with white spots are called triggerfish. She started drawing happily. You're right, Miss Frizzle. I'll be able to do my report again easily down here. I had been so caught up in all the amazing stuff I was seeing that I had almost forgotten my reports. But unlike Phoebe and Ralphie, I wasn't recognizing anything at all. I tried to remember what my pictures were about, but it seemed my mind had gone blank and our book fell in the fish tank. The boat passed over the coral patch, and suddenly we were over bare sand. No coral, no fish, no plants, nothing. Where did all the fish go? Ralphie asked. Class, this is a good lesson in how important coral is, said Miss Frizzle. All the fish and other animals we were seeing depend on the coral reef for protection, shelter, and food. We passed over another patch of coral, and it was crammed with life. Everything was overlapping everything else, with fish, crabs, and other animals all squeezed into the cracks. How does a reef provide all that? Asked Carlo. Small animals come to hide in the coral, and plants grow on top of it, said the freeze. Fish come to eat the small animals and plant. The droppings fertilize the reef even more. Before you know it, there's a whole community, but none of it would be here without the coral. So what do the corals eat? Good question. Corals are animals, but they get food from sunlight, just like plants. How do they do that? Asked Carlos. Let's take a closer look, said she pulled the lever on the bus boat. With a splash, we were underwater, swimming around inside the magic school fish. The other fish scattered when they saw us approach, but we kept shrinking and shrinking until we were all smart enough that they ignored us. So we got so small that instead of swimming away, they started looking at us like they thought we were food. I liked our old size better, said Arnold nervously. We never shrank this small. In my old school, Phoebe added. Beautiful angelfish swam by my window. It was no bigger than the ones in our tank back at school, but now it seemed as big as an elephant. It was coming right at us. Help! It is going to attack. Ralphie screamed. Don't worry, said Frizzle. Coral reefs are full of good places to hide. That's how small fish like us survive. We scooted into a crack between two pieces of coral, where the bigger fish couldn't reach us. And this coral sure is lumpy. Sure enough, now that we are close to the coral, we could see that it was covered in tiny bumps. That's right, Carlos. Each of those bumps is called a coral polyp. Those are the living coral animal. I thought those big rocky things were the coral, I said, as our busfish walked through a maze of staghorn coral. In a way, they are. Those rocky parts are the coral polyps' skeletons, said the Freeze. Each polyp makes a little cup of limestone to live in. Thousands of polyps built up thousands of these tiny cups, creating a piece of coral. The polyps all live on the coral skeleton's outer surface. I still don't see why you call it a coral skeleton. Well, it's not like our skeleton, of course. Our skeletons are inside our bodies, and theirs are outside, said the Freeze. The coral skeleton is a hard, bony structure that supports the polyps' soft bodies from underneath. We zoomed in close to look at the bumpy surface of the coral. The orangish polyps were packed so close together that you couldn't even see the limestone skeleton underneath. Wow, corals are more complicated than I thought, I said. That's not all. Look closely at those polyps. What do you see? A tiny busfish shrank even more until we're smaller than a polyp. Hey, the polyps are clear. Yeah, all the color comes from the blobs inside, I said. What are those? That, class, is what I call a beautiful partnership, said the Freeze. Those are little brownish balls. Inside the polyps are tiny one-celled plants called algae. You mean corals have plants inside them? I said, and those plants make the corals food? Exactly. Is that why corals live in clear sunlit water? So the algae can grow? That's right. It is also why corals grow upward toward the water's surface, and it's why coral polyps are clear, so the algae inside them can soak up the maximum amount of sunlight. This sounds sort of creepy. Imagine having algae living inside you. They should toss those freeloaders out. Miss Frizzle laughed. No way. Those little algae are the best friends a coral could have. Like all plants, they use energy from sunlight to make food, and they share the food with the coral. Corals with algae inside them get about 9/10 of their food from the algae. That's a good partnership, I said. The algae get a safe, sheltered home, and the corals get a steady supply of food. Not bad. What if something eats the coral? Oh, come on, what could do that? Yes, coral skeletons are made of limestone. It is hard as rock. It would take something with super strong jaws to crunch up all the coral, something like. Pointing out the window, monstrous fish was cruising toward us. It was about 4 feet long and had a huge beak like a giant parrot. We watched in horror as its powerful jaws opened. Then it bit a piece of coral right off. Boy, was I glad it wasn't the piece of coral we were hiding in. There was a huge crunching sound as the fish chewed up the coral rock, so loud it hurt my ears. The big fish was moving slowly, taking its time, but now it was swimming straight at our busfish. How exciting. You're seeing a humphead parrotfish in action. What a treat. The parrotfish took another huge chunk of coral from right next to us, and the whole magic school fish shook. We could hear and feel the crunching and chewing getting louder and louder. We're so small. The big fish couldn't see us, but that didn't make me feel any safer. Suddenly, hiding between two branches of coral didn't seem like such a good idea. We are safe from most fish, but not ones that ate coral. But why is it Eating the coral skeleton. DA asked. It's like eating rock. That's how it gets the coral animals and the algae, said the Fritz. So it grinds up rocks just to eat the stuff living on it. I said, what happens to all that rock? Carlos pointed to the fish. A puff of white sand came out of the bag. Oh, I said. A pair of fish can chew up a ton of coral in a year, said the Fritz. That makes a lot of sand. Ever wonder why the beaches are so full of white sand in Australia, Florida, and the Caribbean? A lot of the sand is coral ground up by parrotfish. The waves and storms do some of the grinding too. Miss Frizzle, said Arnold, pointing out the window. If we don't get out of here, we'll be ground up too. I watched in horror as the parrotfish opened wide, started to close its giant beak around us.